Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday. So I promised you guys in yesterday's video that I would take a look at what the price of the stocks could be after the halving event. And I got interested in it myself, got curious. So I ran some numbers today on it and we're going to get through it. So we're going to take a look at, obviously, for the most part, the big miners here, the top 10 or so. Okay, but as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research and invest in following coins and companies. For full disclosure, and if you enjoy this type of content, please hit the like button. The more hits I get on the like button, the better it is for obviously the video doing, performing, things like that, and it helps me out. So I do appreciate it. Also, become a member, subscribe, helps me out. Okay, so let's take a look at what I'm going to go through pretty much, well, the details. I'm going to try to explain it as best I can for you guys. If you have any questions, hit me up down in the comments down below. But here's what we got here. So we're looking into January of 2025 here on where Bitcoin price could be in the network hash rate right now. So right now I'm starting out basically Bitcoin price being averaged at around 100,000 at around January 2025. Okay, the Bitcoin network hash rate is about 550 exahash, so that would be about 150 exahash increase from where it is right now. It might be more than that, it might be less than that. We just don't know. I'm using a little bit higher number possibly just to compensate for, well, being a little bit more conservative, I guess, than anything else. Okay, but that's kind of what we're doing here. Block reward is at 3.125. And then obviously the daily rewards would be about 450 based on the 10-minute block intervals. Okay, so that's kind of what we're doing here with all these numbers. And then we're plugging those numbers into the miner information here as far as what they could be at that point with the hash rate that's being reported. The ones that are not reporting their hash rate growth are kind of stuck with where they are right now. The ones that we do know that are saying that they're going to be growing, that's kind of what we have them at here, but we're using, this should be January 25th. Sorry, I have 24th here. But we're using that number here, and then we're basically including everything that they have in here for the revenue here, except for if they have hosting I don't include in there because I just don't know on some of these guys what the profit margins is on those. So be aware of that as well, okay? But this is basically what we have for BitDeer right now. If we look at, let's take a look at, I don't know, let's look at Marathon. Okay, Marathon for the end of next year, they're going to be, they said they're going to be wanting to grow another 5 exahash or something like that to get closer to 29, almost 30 exahash sometime in the next year, I guess you could say. So I did include that in here. I included these miners over here, the 200 terahash miners, and then about 5.4 exahash of those being added in as well. And that's all being calculated here. And we're using obviously the price for January 25th here. Oops, on the miners, along with the network hash rate, and this is kind of the pricing that we're getting here on what they could possibly be making on those machines at that point in time, okay? And then that gives us the monthly revenue here. Also, for some of these guys, I did also include the latest kind of, we know that Marathon, what's the word I'm looking for? Curtails. They curtail quite a bit here in the summer months. In the winter months, they curtail less. Also, another thing to note is here, I've got Hut 8 going in with basically the US BTC merger. And we're using the numbers of the combined US BTC merger of the 7 exahash that they're supposed to get to. They may get above that, we just don't know. But it's kind of what we're using here. Also, if we look at the miner comparison here, I want to point this out as well. For their so I'm using Q2 numbers here as far as what they mined, the average Bitcoin mined, the average hash rate, the spend that they had, the revenue, along with the expenses. So if I could figure out the electrical expenses, I kept that separate here. And so that was the cost of revenue here, and the cost was basically their overhead. So general administrative, other costs, their cash costs, basically. I didn't include any depreciation in this or anything like that. It was just straight all cash costs. Okay, so the thing to note here in Hut, I multiplied their numbers here by 1.5 because they're going to be merging with USBTC. They're going to be bringing on a bigger team here. It's going to cost them more. Obviously, I don't know exactly how much it's going to cost. So I'm guessing maybe another 50% of what they're spending right now, maybe going to that. It could be actually more. I don't know. But I went a little conservative here at 1.5. Multiplication on that just to get a little bit better number when they're a combined company on them. Okay. Other than that, here's what we're looking at. So January 2025 numbers here, this is what they could possibly mine in that month, okay? January 2025 hash rate. So we got CleanSpark at 20.8 exahash, right? That's without them going any further than what they've reported of going. Hut 8 being at 7 because they haven't reported as buying anything else or growing. And to the halving event or after the halving event, BitDigital, same thing here. Bitfarms at 9,000 or 9 exahash, which is what they say that their goal is here before the halving event. TeraWolf at 8 exahash, Hive at 4. They did say they're going to look into some more mines, but we just don't know what they're looking to get to as far as hash rate is concerned. Marathon said they're going to try to buy another 5 exahash or so, roughly. So we have that plugged in already. Riot said they're going to get to 20. They can get to 30. We just don't know when they're going to do that. I could plug them into 30, but that's going to be tough for them to do that. I think not out of the question, but definitely difficult for them to do that. Cypher is at 6.2 exahash. Iris at 7. They did say that they want to grow more, closer to probably 9, 11 or something like that. We could update the numbers here for that as well. But that's kind of what we're going with right now. Of course, Scientific said that they're trying to buy another, was it 3 exahash or something like that of miners from Bitmain if that deal goes through. Okay, so that's the numbers that we're looking here. And then here's their September numbers here as far as what the revenue was for the last month here in September. End of September hash rate as well. And then we're looking at the difference here between what the revenue increase would be from September of this year to January of 2025 here. You can see sizable increases for some of these guys here as far as revenue is concerned, even though we go through the halving event. You got the percentage difference here, hash rate increase, how much they're increasing. And then we're looking obviously at the costs here, which are general administrative, overhead costs, cash costs, and then cost of revenue is basically operations and electrical costs, if that's being reported in there. And then monthly average payroll, that's based on the cost here. That should be monthly costs, I guess you could say. Their Q2 average hash rate, Q2 BTC monthly average here, what they mine monthly for Q2. Q2 average cost per petahash, so we have that calculated. Average cost per BTC, that takes in, I believe, all the costs here combined. So that's what's costing them to mine here. You can take a look at that number here as well. And then BTC mined in January of 2025 based on the installed hash rate, Bitcoin price, network hash rate. All of that's being contributed in there as well. And what their cost is going to be going forward. BTC mined, that's based on that future January 25th numbers. Average cost in January here, you can see here, that's basically just the cost of power and operations possibly in there. And then if you include all of their expenses here, that's if the expenses stay the same, which I doubt they're going to stay the same, but I'm just saying if they did stay the same, this is where we would be at for all of these miners here. Scrolling on over here, if we take the revenue minus cost equals profit. So we'll go through these one by one here. So CleanSpark came in at approximately a profit of 29 million. Now, this does not include depreciation or any other expenses that are not cash costs. So if you include depreciation along with stock-based compensation, things like that, that's not being included in here as well. Okay, HUT 8 came in actually a negative 1.8, and that's mainly because of their costs. Their costs are quite high right now based on the numbers that we've seen for Q2. And when they merge with USBTC, they really need to look at which positions they can possibly eliminate, which ones are double. They don't have to do that. So obviously, like I said, they need to cut a lot of fat out and they need to grow a lot because right now, based on the numbers that I do have for them, looking into January of 2025, we have the average cost per BTC mine in January 2025 would be 84,000. So that's absolutely rough there. And if they're only mining in January 25, 17 million for the year, or for the month actually, that's really, really bad. Okay, but that's not including any of the other revenue that they have from USBTC, which is the hosting, the self-mining. Well, actually, the self-mining does include there because we included the hash rate in form, but it doesn't include other things that USBTC is also doing, along with the AI that's happening here with HUT 8 as well and Hive as well. So that's not being included in there. So these numbers are a best guess estimate right now. You could include quite a bit more revenue into them as well for all those other things that they're getting or doing. Okay, so take that with also consideration in here, okay? BitDigital came in at 616,000 profit after all expenses. Bitfarms at 4 million, TeraWolf at 9 million, Hive at 3 million. Then they got Marathon at 28 million, Riot at 19 million, Cypher at almost 2 million. Iris Energy would be actually down, and the reason for that is because they have interest expenses that they're paying off on some of the loans. They need to get rid of those as fast as possible before the halving event if possible, whether it's through dilution or whatever. They got to get rid of those. That's really hurting them in this part. right? So they have to do that. And other than that, for Iris, I think that would be okay, right? So if they can get rid of some of that expenses, I think they're paying almost like 8 million a month or something like that, or per quarter on interest expenses and things like that. Okay. Next is Core Scientific. Core Scientific would be up 6.8 million. And what we're doing here is actually taking those figures and multiplying it times the 12 months. So more or less what I'm looking at here is if Bitcoin price stays, or not stays, we know it's going to probably go up and down, up and down, up and down. But on average, if over the next 12 months after the halving event, or sometime after the halving event, it stays at an average of basically 100,000, this is what their 12-month running revenue could be at. Okay, this would be, I guess, net profit, you could say, right? So CleanSpark would be 355 million. Hut 8 would be negative 21 million. So that's why I'm saying that they're definitely going to do a lot better, right? Plus, if you include HODL in there, that's going to raise their value up because they got 9,000 some Bitcoin of HODL right now. Multiply that times the price of Bitcoin price of 100,000. You're looking at, what is that? Going to be 900,000 or more than that. It's going to be more than that. It's going to be like 90 million or something like that. No, it's going to be more than that. Let me see. I got to look this up. I'm drawing a blank right now. Let's see here. So we take the calculator out of my phone and we look at, they got 9,500 Bitcoins right now on the sheet times 100,000. We are looking at 950 million on top of that, right? So they got a lot of cash that's going to be added to their market cap here as well. So definitely they should be around 2 billion or something like that in market cap at that point. Okay. So like I said, you got to take everything into consideration here. Then if we look at BitDigital will be at 7 million roughly. And their costs are also pretty high here as well, because they do host most of their machines as well. So that's the reason for that. Expenses have been pretty high as well as far as general administrative and things like that. Bitfarms would be at 48 million. That is also, let me see here. Yeah, I got a 9 exahash here, but I don't think I put it in to the actual numbers here for them. I have them at, no, I do have them at 9 exahash here. Well, that doesn't really help me here, does it? So, oh, and we're also missing some numbers here. So good thing we checked. Yeah, there's something off and fishy here. So that's in there. Let's see here. And then this, no, we don't want to add that. Okay, a lot of numbers here. So I do make mistakes from time to time. Luckily, we catch them a lot of the times here, but we do make mistakes here from time to time. And that is based on that. Okay, so let's say that that gets us to 8.3 exahash. Right, so we're pretty close to 9 exahash as it is right now. If they do go beyond that, so let's take a look at the numbers there for them now. That gets us to, let me see, Bitfarms about 20 million in revenue here, which would be obviously an increase still from the revenue that they had in September of this year. Okay, so that's looking much better. So at that point, that gets us to about 90 million in revenue here for the 12 months. Okay, that's a little bit better there. TeraWolf would be 108 million. Hive would be at 39 million. And then they also have a little bit of a HODL position around 2,000 Bitcoin right now. They stated that they want to grow before and after the halving event as well, but we just don't know where. So that's kind of where we're coming in at. Marathon is going to be at 342 million. And the reason for that is because they're also hosting all of their miners with third parties. That's costing them more on there. And that's the main reason really why for that one. Okay, Riot, 234 million. Riot curtails a lot, but they also get credits for the power curtailment, which could obviously impact the bottom line. So if we look at, let me see here, on Riot, if we look at their Q2 cost of revenue, which is basically the electricity and things like that, recently they've been getting 10, 20, 30 million in power credits a month. If we basically say their cost of revenue is only, let's just say, I don't know, 8 after credits, let's just do 10 million for the quarter, right? So that's 10,000, 10 million. We can see here how that improves their number here to 338 million, which is pretty close to Marathon as well, right? Okay, I'm going to put that back to the way it was for the time being. We'll go back to this number here in a second. Also, Cypher would be 23 million. Iris would be actually negative, like we said here. And Iris definitely has to grow. They said they're growing here, but we'll have to see how much more they're going to grow beyond what they already have. They said they're going to try and get to, what is it? Their goal is to get to 30 exahash. When they're going to do it, not sure. They did. Let me take a look at Iris, make sure I'm having the right numbers in for Iris as well. while I'm at it. Hut Iris, there it is. So Iris here, we have the S21s, which they bought. Did we add those in September as well? We did. Okay, so we got those added in. Those are mining away. That's being added in here to the 1.4 exahash that they bought. They buy more of those miners for then, which I think that's more likely a possibility. Why don't we do that? Why don't we add another 1.4 exahash to that for Iris here? Because they are on a roll here recently trying to get things in. So we'll bring that down. So they're going to be mining for 30 days. Okay. That gives us another couple million here in revenue from that. So now we're looking at Iris possibly being in the positive of 29 million, right? But they have to definitely get the cost isn't too bad. They just need to grow really their hash rate on top of that. And then what do we have here as far as cost? 21 million in cost. That's a bit high. That should come down as things improve with their hash rate. And otherwise, yeah, they got to watch the bottom line here. Like all these miners really do. Okay, next is Core Scientific. Core Scientific would be at 81 million. That obviously does not include their hosting that they do also, which definitely helps a little bit now that they're a little bit more profitable on the hosting side. Before they were actually losing money on the hosting because they were selling machines to the customers and making money on that, and they weren't really making money on the hosting side, which was just crazy to me why that was the case in the beginning, but it was what it was. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at here. We're also looking at a PE of 20 for all these. Now, the thing to note here is during a bull run, the PE ratio goes up much higher. So we've seen PE ratios as high as 40, 45, 35 for some of these miners like Marathon, Riot in the bull run. We have them like currently at 20. Some miners were still around the 20, 25, 30 mark on the PE ratio because, well, Bitcoin going up in value lifts up all boats. And some of these are obviously, you could say, investors' darlings. Marathon, Riot in the past. We'll see if they continue to be that going forward. So here's what we kind of have here. Bitcoin 100,000 and at network hash rate being at 550 exahash in January. If that stays the same for basically 12 months, roughly, we're looking at a stock price for CleanSpark at $46.63. Hut 8 would actually be, I'm pretty sure Hut 8 is going to be positive here. I'm not too concerned about it, but based on the numbers that we have now, it's not looking too great for them. Bit Digital would be at $1.74 after the halving event because they just need to grow more. Their hash rate is low. Bitfarms would be at $7.04. That would definitely be a big improvement from where they are right now. TeraWolf would be at $9.78. That would also be a nice improvement. Hive at $9.40. Then you got Marathon at $33.36. Riot at $25.34. Cypher at $1.85. Iris at $8.77. Core Scientific at $4.36. All right, so if Iris can get above 10 exahash or more, that stock price should go up for them along with anybody else here that's really struggling to increase their hash rate. Market cap, like I said, this does not include HODL, so you could add easily into Marathon another 3 billion into their numbers here. That would get into about 9, almost 10 billion here on the market value. That would obviously be a higher stock price. Why don't we do that? So let's see if we can add the HODL to everybody here and then see what the market cap and the price would be at that point on it as well. So here's the HODL value. And then let's see, HODL market. Let's do that. HODL. Oh boy, I can't type. HODL MCAP. And then stock price. So we'll see if we can do this relatively quickly here. I think I have the HODL down here for most of these guys here. BTC HODL, I do. Okay, so let's do this. Let me see. Iris is Iris. Okay, I'm gonna change that over to it. You guys will get to see me in action here. Actually, I see how I do things. All right, so HODL equals VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP. We want to look up CleanSpark, and we want to look it up in the table down below. So we're going to go down here. We're going to look at BTC HODL, which is the, let's see here. HODL, yep. No, I'm going to look at the BTC value of it. So that's going to be 37, I believe, comma 37, comma false. Okay. And we didn't get anything out of that. Why not? CleanSpark. CleanSpark. Exact match, 37. Let's see here. 35. Still nothing. Why are we getting that? All right, let's do it the old-fashioned way. CleanSpark right now has a HODL of, let's see here. BTC value of, oh, these are old numbers here, 703. Oh, it's Bitfarms. There we go, 61 million of that. Then you got Hut 8 has a value of 258. Then you have to multiply it. You know, maybe I'll do this another day. This is going to take too long for us to do it. But you get the picture that if you add in, let's just add in the value of Marathon having about 3 billion in value on it. So I'll just do it for you guys as an example. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's 300 million. We need to add one more zero. Okay, so we add one more zero here equals this plus that. And then we take this equals this divided by the number of shares for Hut 8, or Marathon actually, which is over here currently. And then this is what we get, $48 it looks like. $48. Yep, $48 per stock. Now, so you can see how of an impact Bitcoin, how it can have on these companies, and how it can add to their basically market cap in all if Bitcoin goes up. All right, so right now we have Bitcoin at 100,000. If Bitcoin goes up even more, let's say on average it stays at 125,000. Well, then now you can see how the price targets really look differently here. We got 68 for Marathon with the HODL. Probably you can add Riot in there as well with the HODL being closer to that number as well. CleanSpark is at $66 at that point. Who else do we have here? Hive at 16. You can see how things increase as the Bitcoin price goes up in value. Do one more, 250,000 on average if it gets there and stays there for, on average for 7, 8, 9 months or so. Then we're looking at 86 for CleanSpark. We're looking at 89 for Marathon with an 18 billion market cap. And then you got, well, at that point, the HODL would obviously be in more value. So you could have possibly Marathon being at 20 billion. Okay. Otherwise, we got Riot also probably closer to that as well, because they're just, one, they're so large. They have a huge hash rate. They're also very profitable as far as their hash rate is concerned with the power credits they do get. So that all helps them out as well. But that's kind of how we're looking at things right now. And then also if you include, let's just say that Marathon gets a 30 PE, right? Riot 30 PE. But CleanSpark hasn't been doing too well compared to the other miners recently. Let's just say it gets to 25. And you can see how things stack up at that point. All right. So you can definitely play with the numbers here on where things could stack up. Big takeaway is obviously the miners, one, cutting costs as much as they can, growing as much as they can before the halving event. And a little bit after the halving event, I wouldn't recommend buying miners in the bull run, because miners at that point are going to be way too expensive. Doesn't make any sense at that point. And what else? Just be as lean as possible, I guess you could say. So let me know if you guys agree with this. If you guys don't agree with this, what do you guys think of it? Am I cuckoo here going with these numbers here? But I thought these were kind of conservative nonetheless here. So I'll make this available to my Patreon members. As always, thank you to everyone there. Membership for that is also still $5, and you get the Discord private server that we have. Everybody communicates there. It's a great community there. So I highly recommend for you guys to get there. Also hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this. These are definitely way out numbers. We're looking at basically 15 months out for this to happen. But is it possible? Is it not possible? What do you guys think? All right. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, bye.